Surprise and welcome back, everybody. Back a little bit early because we should be good to go now for Game 3. Again, apologies that we've had these difficulties, but we're hoping that we're ready to go here for Game 3. And this is a big one, Tolly, because Trifecta now up against the ropes.
They are. They are down to 0-2. Renegades, despite not playing in the earlier part of this season, have been looking very strong. They've been clicking. Their synergy have been on point. That Game 2 not lasting nearly as long as Game 1.
No, we don't need to waste any more time. We're right into picks and bans here for Game number 3. Trifecta staying in that first pick position is one where they have struggled so far. I think that Game 2 picks and bans were... Game 1 picks and bans were optimistic, I'll say. It's a composition that could have worked on paper, but ended up failing. Game 2 picks and bans felt just not great for me. I mean, I didn't love the Vulcan pick. The Ganesha pick was okay on paper, I suppose, but obviously didn't end up working in execution. So I don't know if that's a picks and bans issue, though. But overall, I think the Vulcan pick was really rough.
It was questionable. That was their very last pick out of Trifecta in Game 2. What I did like was the beginning of their draft. They first picked Xbalanque. They early drafted the Batz, taking that away from Cherryo. Then the Camazotz for Ducky, making sure he would feel comfortable against the King Arthur.
Freya and Achilles banned by Trifecta, sticking pretty true to what they've done so far. Merlin the ban by Renegades, and here they could go back and go with that Jormungandr ban. They've done that quite a bit so far. I mean, if you're Renegades, you make a Trifecta adjust to you, right? There's no reason for Renegades to change it.
That's true. They've been changing their own strategy pretty well, I would say, between the first 2 games where they got Arthur and Achilles, just making it really happen. That last game, it was banned away. This game, it's also banned away in the Achilles front. But I guess they didn't really like dealing with the darkest of nights.
No, I guess not. I mean, Wowy looked okay during that game, but now you leave open the Jormungandr, and Trifecta are going to first pick it. And I feel like Trifecta's had a really tough time getting their draft in order. And I feel like giving them this pick, it doesn't lose Renegades the game by any stretch. Jorm is good, but not insane. But I don't know. It's just you're letting Trifecta change pace for free.
You know what it was? They left so much open on the table last game between the Arthur and Serket and the Xbalanque that they realized Trifecta was willing to first pick the Xbalanque last game, and I guess they don't necessarily care too much if they ban away the Jormungandr, or they'd rather pick it so that way they can still stick to their guns of going this King Arthur that's been working out for Nika. He's been diving that backline very effectively, making it a lot easier on Renegade's backline.
And Renegades want to go right back to what got them the Game 2 victory, which is the Terra as well. As I mentioned, the mid 3v3 was a real problem for Trifecta in that game. iRaffer, Dardez, and Cherryo got off to a massive lead over Eonic, Lasbra, and Weekend, so trying to do the same here with the exact same support pick.
And the Xbalanque last game for Wowy worked out pretty well, not until the very end of the game, though, when he was getting dope under that Tier 2 tower in the solo lane. But looking at the draft from Renegades, that's a good mixture of diving the backline and peeling for your own backline. Trifecta trying to be very safe for Wowy this game.
Camazotz locked in, and this makes me think, I mean, Eonic's played the Jormungandr in support before, but as we've seen more and more Jorm, I'm more and more convinced that it's best in solo. It seems like that's where the biggest impact is. And so I don't know if I like Trifecta going back to that in the support role if they are giving the Camazotz over to Ducky.
I think Pittsburgh Knights have a word with you saying that Jormungandr is best in solo.
Sure.
Zeros playing that in the mid lane consistently. I don't expect Lasbra to pull a Zeros here, even though him and Zeros are boys, being on the sub for Dignitas for quite a while during that Season 4 era. But probably going to play a little bit more safe and standard, but I kind of agree with you. I think Jormungandr out of the solo lane is a very scary threat for most mid laners when all of a sudden a higher level Jormungandr than yourself is coming to gank you with a World Serpent.
I also think it's got a pretty decent lane matchup against King Arthur because you can't get ulted by Excalibur's Wrath.
That's true.
That's where a lot of the King Arthur poke comes from, is using that low cooldown ultimate. Jorm doesn't need to worry about that. I mean, Ducky did well with the Camazotz, exactly what you expect up against the King Arthur. But I would have much preferred this going into the solo lane, and it still could. This could be Camazotz in jungle, but I don't know that I'm in love with that if that's the plan for Trifecta either.
And it's not only the Excalibur's Wrath, also that charge knockup, not able to really get Jormungandr up in the sky. But the passive still works to a little bit of Renegade's benefits, where Jormungandr for 2 seconds receives 10% extra damage. And if there's a gank from Cherryo's Batz, that might be enough to find the kill. But against a double physical between solo jungle. I think that Ducky should have an easy time itemizing around those two physicals.
Certainly has the option if that's what he wants to do, as Renegades again ban away the Ares. They abandoned in all 3 now. And all 3 drafts have been good Ares drafts if Eonic wanted to go for it. So Renegades have been pretty adamant on keeping that away from him. As Trifecta ban away the Dardez Chronos. Again, when a player just moves into a new role, it's pretty common to see teams consistently ban out what they've been playing so far in the set to make them prove that they can keep the God pool expanded.
And not only that, without a true hunter pick for Renegades, that Chronos and Soul ban now from Trifecta is also focusing out on Funballers, something that he really likes to play. And with the Ratatasker global banned away, surprised that Trifecta didn't go for it in games 1 or 2, knowing that the Circuit was picked in game 1, granted, but that was a flex pick going to Eonic. Instead, it was a last pick Nemesis, and Ratatasker wasn't even banned in game 1.
Poseidon again for Dardez, worked for him in game 1, got it off to the early first blood, had a couple struggles after that. So Trifecta probably feeling pretty neutral about this pick, though it is a great pick against Jormungandr, and Trifecta go right back to the Ganesh. So it is going to be Camazotz mid, or Camazotz solo, Jormungandr mid.
What if it's Camazotz mid, Jormungandr solo?
I don't think so. I mean, Ducky wants the King Arthur matchup with Camazotz, right? That's why they pick it so early.
But think about it this way: it has so much scaling, so you get physical power. You rush Transcendence, you rush a little bit extra power. How is Dardez going to survive from Bat Out of Hell?
It's going to be tough for him. I think that they're looking for the Wombo combo though of the Jorm mid knockup into the Awilix pool from Weekend.
Sure,
and you want to be around that more often, which is around mid. But I think you're right. I mean, it definitely has the option. It's no crazier than your mid, so why not? Why couldn't Camazotz mid work in this one? Renegades round out their draft with the Muzen Kaba pick that has become more and more popular as the year has gone on. This time it's going to be for Funball in the duo lane. He's looked great so far in Season 6. Trifecta with a Pittsburgh Knights-esque composition. For all the CC they drafted in Game 1, nearly none here in Game 3 in comparison. We'll see if it's enough to avoid the sweep. Renegades looking to start off Season 6 hot. Let's throw it over to Hindu and Taco.
Thanks so much, Des. Yes, and here we go for game number 3. Renegades could close out the set early on and get a win in the column already. But Trifecta have, well, listed a very similar composition as last time. A couple of changes here and there. Mainly the Awilix I'm looking at here is the big change.
The Awilix Jorm Wombo combo is one. I mean, ever since the Splice debut of it, I think really opened a lot of eyes. But the Ganesha also has a slight knock-up for Awilix to work around.
It's true.
Outside of that, though, I'd have to imagine that this Awilix pick was mostly geared towards trying to harass Cherryo.
It does give the Jormungandr mid lane for Lasbra a little bit of safety here, I feel, in terms of he can sit back, get his clear on, and if he ever feels pressured, ults, and safety is available. You know, that's kind of how I look at the Jorm mids most of the time. It feels like very much a new war style to it.
In a sense, yeah,
you know
I can definitely get that vibe. It's just, Dardez, I think, made a really smart choice going for the Muzen Cobb. Not even to say that, you know, I think AMC performs best in mid lane, but it's the fact that Lasbra won't really be able to utilize the invis portion of Jorm's kit.
That's true.
He's going to have to be dealing with consistent Bs and that slow spread, and both of these mid laners are definitely going to be fairly immobile until, at least for Lasbra, until he hits level 5.
Now, even though you're saying about the Dardez AMC mid, it's a Poseidon in the duo lane. This is something Funballer has done a few times before. But look at Eonic. He's going for a different strategy, trying to steal this speed this time round. Last attempt nearly cost him his life. This attempt, well, he won't get the speed buff, and he'll get taunted by Cherryo in response. Eonic in anger will use the horrific emblem and get a couple of basic attacks off. But now he's going to be in a bit of an awkward position, trying to delay Cherryo getting any more experience in the jungle.
Well, I think this is more awkward for Cherryo because he loses the beads, doesn't get participation for the entire wave.
I didn't realize he beads.
He did use the purification beads when Eonic initially showed up. I think he was expecting Eonic to have that, to have the dash.
I feel like he might have expected everybody to be there, you know, a couple of members ganking him at the same time.
Probably assumed that there was going to be more to follow as well, and then after he realized it was only Eonic, that's where the spam shots started coming through. Dardez is going to use those purification beads as well off the feather step. But he's incredibly low, and this is not the kind of early game exchange that Dardez and Cherryo were hoping for. But Eonic's still level 1.
Yeah, the purple buff was stripped away on the left-hand side by Trifecta there too, given over to Wowy. So it does put a little bit of pressure on Renegades early on, a little bit on the back foot for now. You can see that just in terms of experience differences at the moment.
And by the way, Funballer is on the Poseidon ADC.
Blinking mid lane though from Weekend, looking for the counter kill onto Dardez after the pressure earlier on. The beads were already down, but not enough damage available. Lasbra and Eonic weren't able to follow up enough. They have to turn tail now that Cherryo and iRaffer has shown up. And Eonic could be in a lot of trouble as Cherryo does enough with the basics, have to jump into the monkey to get first blood.
It just took Eonic way too long to hit level 2, I think. He just got a little bit too caught up in trying to delay Cherryo, so much so that he even hindered himself.
I think that's what happens at the start of these games, though, Taco. With the fact that we see the supports being a little bit all over the place, it can come down to a bit of who makes the mistake in terms of getting less experience gets punished for it. And that seems to be the case.
It's not like Eonic was alone in his level 1 endeavor. iRaffer was actually in the same exact boat on the Terra. He only hit level 2 after Cherryo got that punish against Eonic, but I think that was also just a smart move from Cherryo. The fact that he had the leap available, I think it was also something that was kind of forced by Eonic and Weekend. So that one kind of came back to haunt Eonic.
Honestly, the delayed technical difficulties for a minute or two there as well. Both teams did get a bit of a respite situation they wouldn't have had. A bit of time to collect your thoughts, work out what you want to do before this game begins. And now it's a bit surprised to see Trifecta to go back to what they've done so far with some of these picks, especially the King Arthur situation we've spoken about a few times. They're focused elsewhere, so we'll see how it works out for them. Ducky going to go back towards his blue buff, but Cherryo is lurking. Weekend, meanwhile, looking to pressure Poseidon, or the purple on the left-hand side, but overhand smash from Cherryo to steal it away. Won't be successful. Actually, Salalite will be successful. My bad. The red gave away the situation as Cherryo will bring it down. Left-hand side now, Trifecta 3 versus 1.
And Eonic's going to be off the mark, so iRaffer will toss out the walls. Don't think it'll be possible for him to steal. Smart of Weekend to pull that purple buff even deeper back into the pit since Eonic couldn't get the CC applied to iRaffer. But again, Trifecta, they're finding these small victories. I'm just not sure that they're outweighing what Renegades is doing in return.
Yeah, realistically, that was kind of an even trade, right? Blue for purple, but blue's a little bit more impactful.
And it was a one-man split.
It. Yeah, 1 versus 3. So the experience differential is definitely paying something there. But the only thing separating these two teams is the first blood so far. And that going the way of Cherryo gets his boots online just a little bit quicker than that of Weekend. Although Weekend not really return to base just yet again, as he's looking to get the left-hand side farm wherever possible. And look for the level 5. Because once he's level 5, him and Lasbra maybe he'd be able to make things happen in the mid lane. But as you said, it's bees versus this stealthy Jormungandr. So that knockup might not be as easy to connect.
And I know it's early on in Game 3 Hindu, but I just think that Eonic's gameplay has been kind of sloppy for the past couple of games. This set, actually, I don't know. I'm just not seeing the Eonic that I know the potential is there for.
Yeah, he's having a struggling day. And I think the worst thing is once you start to struggle, it can start to fester and then continue to get worse because you start trying to make things happen. Hopefully he can correct it in this game, though. We're only 5 minutes in, so maybe he's got a chance.
Yeah, he's not a player that I think normally misses his abilities. That's why it catches me so off guard. And might even be catching Renegades off guard, but it does appear like Game 2 might have had a little bit of an impact, and hopefully he's able to connect as the match continues, but definitely not an easy one to recover from, but he's done a decent job, I think, at staying relevant despite that early first blood.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on the player cams for the most part. You can see Renegade's a little bit more talkative overall. Just seen a few more mouths moving there than the side of Trifecta. As it stands now, left-hand side of the map, pressure from Renegades here. All grouping up, I guess, to defend their own red, expecting something to happen. Won't be the case, though. Trifecta not really in the position. Instead, Renegades will get the Oracles. And look at the wards again on that left-hand side from Renegades. Almost 6 minutes in, and they're littered everywhere. Now Cherryo's going for a gank onto poor old Wowy.
It's been very impressive, though, watching these two teams in their warding choices, because I feel like so many possible gank opportunities are just being shut down. And it's not that these teams are choosing to play passive into each other so much as they are kind of being forced to take a step back, because I don't know, it's kind of crazy to think that they could both possibly have such good ward vision over each other.
I think that what ends up happening then is that you're forced to take the engagement quicker than you'd like to. If you're going to gank, you know the ward's giving it away. Kraken from Funballer on the left-hand side will connect with Wowy. Wowy wisely so, going for the Aegis option this game. Kind of a risky situation for a Rama, right? You've got to fear no evil to deal with in the jungle, but you're also dealing with Krakens in the laning phase.
But Wowy can go for the Aegis, probably because he assumed that Cherryo would have the Purification Beads as his starting relic.
So another blink, right?
And because the Batz doesn't have the blink, it's not as much of a threat against Wowy. Even with the Aegis being down, Wowy can still look for an Astral Barrage. Land does provide a setting where ping can definitely help you out escaping on that Fear No Evil.
It's interesting because like Wowy has the option of going beads and then, you know, rolling away from the Kraken by beads and out of the Whirlpool, and still has it available for Fear No Evil. But choosing the Aegis, he's expecting a ton of damage, so trying to absorb it and not have to reposition as quick. He's working on his Devourer's Gauntlets over here. Funballer completed his boots too with the Shoes of Focus. Looks like a potential Warlock staff coming out here. Don't want to count my chickens just yet because we've seen a lot of variation in builds over the time.
This isn't a matchup that Wowy's going to win at the start. He's got to wait until he's got those Devourer Gauntlets online and some stacks with it, because just finishing the item itself won't usually provide you with enough sustain against the Poseidon poke.
Dardez in the mid lane, more than likely going for Transcendence as Cherryo will jump with the monkey towards Eonic, but straight away backs away. It's just about wave clear in the mid lane. A little bit lackluster from Trifecta in terms of quick wave clear. It's more consistent with the fact that Lasbra's looking to use his basic attacks for the most part. AoE basic attacks, by the way, but also that Venomous Spit.
Yeah, but Dardez has already built up a pretty decent experience lead over Lasbra, and despite the fact that Muzen is just as immobile, if not more so, than the Jormungandr, I just think that Dardez has been a little bit, or I should say Renegades, has just been a little bit more efficient in terms of how many players they're spreading their buff farm with.
Speaking of AMC a little bit more, Taco, has he changed in terms of ability level order at all? Because I know he's gone for a lot of iterations where I've seen Hives be max first, or Swarm, or Honey over the years.
Almost always Swarm nowadays.
Always Swarm.
Swarm, and then after
what?
that, well,
Situational?
I think it's situational after that, because some players like to hold points to prioritize the ult, or some people don't even like using the ult for anything more than a cripple, and instead will put points into the Hives and the Honey.
Right, okay. So forgo the ultimate potentially.
Mostly Hives. I think that
they're OP Hives.
They're pretty strong. They can be.
Attack speed.
Depending on how you choose to use them.
Attack speed, mobility, and sustain, actually, in the grand scheme of that. Right hand side, Tomaku traded out between the two as the fight continues. Nika will get the ult off from Ducky, but Ducky won't be too scared just yet, be able to re-sustain off the tail end of that engagement. However, a bit of a situation on the left developing here. Raph is in the lane, and I think they know that Weaken's lurking. There's a ward there, so they're well aware, but they don't know about Eonic wrapping around the back. But he did step on a ward too. They know the gank's coming. What will Renegades do to answer? There's the Dharmic Pillars, and the dash from Eonic didn't hit, unfortunately. So that's the pressure relieved already, and ultimate consumed by Eonic there.
They do get the sprint, though, from iRaffer, and Eonic's Dharmic Pillars are definitely going to be up before the Terra's Relic is off cooldown. I like this, though, from Renegades, still pushing forward, realizing that with Eonic not having the Dharmic Pillars, he might be able to get punished, and punished is exactly what Ducky is doing against Nika, now that he's been left alone. I thought that Cherryo stealing that blue buff from Ducky would definitely slow down the potential of this Kama, but I don't think it's really had that much of an impact.
Hey, if you just leave Camazotz alone against King Arthur, he'll be fine in that laning phase just as much. So keep an eye out and see if we can see any pressure coming on the left-hand side, because that creates the opportunities for aggression on the right, knowing the junglers are taken care of. Cherryo at level 9, full Jotun's Wrath online here, so going for the cooldown option on this Batz. Wanting to spam those Fear No Evils a little bit more often here. And Funballer, meanwhile, does look like a Gem of Isolation, or maybe the Ethereal Staff here coming out.
It could be an early gem. I would actually be a big fan of seeing an early gem here. The slows would be so good against Trifecta's composition. Ganesha, Awilix, Rama, all of those gods will have a tough enough time as is, I think, trying to peel for themselves or escape from situations. And if they're slowed in the process, with the amount of slows that Renegades can also apply,
with the Honey as well.
Problem.
Honey slows as well, that's definitely going to make an impact. Somersault can do that. Raffer's going to be causing problems with that Terra consistently with the roots as well as the stuns from the clap too.
And it is. The Gem of Isolation Rush from Funballer already has 20% cooldowns as well, so you can expect to see a few whirlpools making their way, and it's going to make objective play difficult, I think, for Trifecta.
Yeah, I think at this point, if I'm Eonic, I'm already investing into Sprint next, even though you'd really like a Shell, if possible, to deal with like some of the burst damage that Renegade's going to have. But I think Sprint may have to be an option or a consideration here for Trifecta at some point. Still a dance around the Gulf here for the most part. I see quite a few clusters of people just grouping around these oracles around the Gulf here, looking for a window. And Renegade's just sending iRaffer back to base there. There's an opportunity for Trifecta to look this way, but it'll just probably be the oracles for the vision more than anything else. Renegade's had an idea that everyone had disappeared for a minute and showed up in time to make sure the Gulf Fury wasn't being done.
Also, important to note, Lasbra even opted for a Divine Ruin as his secondary item, so he's not looking to take any chances with the self-sustain or team sustain that iRaffer can provide. I'm talking self-sustain mostly in regards to Nika.
Yeah. Self-sustain from King Arthur, definitely up there, especially with the Gladiator Shield. That's the main reason for it. Just able to hit multiple targets and get multiple additions of heal. We can send it to the right-hand side, though, to pressure Nika a little bit. Ducky's done a good job of whittling down the health bar and the mana bar. However, in the mid lane, Eonic has just bitten off a bit more than he can chew. Already ate his stinger, but will escape for now. Lasbra came in to help towards the tail end, but now Weaken's forced back by Cherryo as well. End of the engagement. Horrific and Sprint both consumed. Rafizzle is down. Eonic's still available.
But Lasbra could immediately tell something else was up. I like what Lasbra's doing with the World Worm Ultimate, just trying to clear out the minion wave. This does give an opportunity, though, to Renegades to try and pull this Gold Fury, and they've definitely got the burst to confirm it with that Kraken.
We've got multiple members having to go back to base, more importantly. Weaken's getting to the right-hand side, though, looking for a play on Nika. Nice little pull out of Weaken with the ultimate there to bring Nika into dangerous rage. Has an ultimate available. Nika's going to be unfortunately upset about falling there, but it is at the cost of a Gold Fury, so Renegades do come out okay in this trade.
Weaken and Ducky knew that the Gold Fury was being aggressed by Renegades. It's just, even if Weaken had tried to rotate over, there's realistically not much he could have done in that situation. Maybe he gets the steal off, but I think more likely than not, he just ends up dying there.
This is more important, though. Getting this tier 1 tower on the right-hand side. Just open this lane up a little bit more for Trifecta and make sure you punish Renegades as much as possible. But the Fear No Evil from Cherryo does a lot of work on Weaken. Weaken doesn't really panic too much. Didn't have an option in panicking or not. After the leap, though, Cherryo just closes the distance. The overhand smash is good. Now Ducky, who's got an ultimate but no mana, is going to fall down to Cherryo, who gets a double kill now. The elephant is in the room, but it's not needed as Lasbra already gets it with the poison.
I couldn't tell. I think that was the Dharmic Pillars, actually.
Oh, was it? It might have been.
Eonic had a really solid placement of the Dharmic Pillars.
I just saw poison on the ground,
off.
so I was like, well, I guess that's Lasbra spitting over the wall, is what I thought it was.
Lasbra might have thrown his spit over the wall, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that Eonic actually confirmed that one for his mid laner, so very solid rotation. It's good that Lasbra was local to the area and right there with Eonic, so Eonic doesn't wind up with the kill, because I know for a fact Eonic, that's the last thing he wants is getting the bounties. It's nice to get the pick, don't get me wrong, but you definitely want that golden experience going to one of your carries.
So Trifecta did pretty good work on this right-hand side overall. Sure, they lost a couple of lives. Problem being is that Cherryo picking up that double kill off the last engagement as Funballer gets a solo kill on Wowy. That shouldn't be happening, should it? Wait, relics are up too.
Yeah, I think that Wowy might have just been caught off guard. It's actually...
Surprise, right? I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I'm actually not certain. I mean, we know that Kraken was involved. That's about it.
That's about it. There was no relics involved, I'll tell you that much. Fiddle even in mid lane, making a relic out of Lasbra here. He's only got an Aegis, though, so he won't have the beads available just yet. Lasbra's still alive and will skirt away from danger. But Ducky on the tail end could punish Cherryo for the over-aggression now. Ducky gets a kill. Looks to turn onto Dardez, but Dardez already forced it further back. Trifecta seem pretty happy with the result there because Funballer's closing in now. Eonic getting low, so is Ducky. Ducky still has his ultimate available, not panicking just yet.
But Wowy has just recently respawned. Funballer, though, able to make the rotation. Nika gonna be the lowest member, and Horrific has been expended from Eonic, but no one can get close. This honey is just creating so much space for Renegades.
And just no follow-up available towards the tail end there. Nika got very lucky that he didn't have tower aggro there, otherwise he definitely would have fallen down on that King Arthur. But the damage done again by Renegades in that middle area. Taking down the tier 1 is a little bit more gold on the coffers and extends their lead.
Lasbra should just be happy he didn't die, but
yeah.
I really just want to know what happens in the first place for Wowy. to get soloed by Funballer without using the Aegis. I think that's what really catches me so off guard.
Yeah.
I'd have to assume that it was
Here we go.
Funballer just
Here's a
tossing the
little
Kraken
ripple,
out.
Kraken at the tail end. Oh, he was just on the edge looking for the roll. I think you can see, I can kind of get it right on the edge of the whirlpool. He thinks he can get the roll out off, but I think he's just clipping the whirlpool, so he can't actually roll away. Could have used Beads or Aegis though.
I think you have to Aegis that.
I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. You gave me that look of like, it's a honey, you should have been Aegising, right?
You have to use Aegis there.
Punished.
Yeah, that was Wowy maybe getting a little too greedy about trying to hold on to that Aegis cooldown, but some of those chances are, it's dangerous to play with them because Renegades, while they only got the T1 off of the Wowy solo kill there, I think that could have potentially been a T2 tower even. It was just a really nice rotation from Ducky and the punish onto Cherryo that forces Renegades to leave it at just the T1.
Weekend having trouble getting deep in the jungle now as Renegade starts to apply some pressure through the middle area, knowing that tier 1 tower is removed. It's opening the window for Renegades to get fancy in the jungle a little bit more, and they're going to go for the Pyromancer here on the right-hand side. So far, iRaffer and Dardez working away in it, but Weekend and Lasbra starting to lurk around the corners. Literally lurking is Lasbra right now as he's trying to swing around behind Dardez, but the Pyro's already dead. Ducky's taking a bit of poke damage from Nika, a little bit more than you'd expect. And the ultimate out from Lasbra is a forced initiation, I feel, as Trifecta are trying to make something happen.
Weekend looking for a knockup, and we'll find it eventually onto iRaffer, but there's just not enough follow-up damage, and it's going to be Eonic who gets torn apart first by the Kraken.
Yeah, Kraken destroys him, and now Wowy's in a world of hurt here. Aegis is now down. Cherryo can't find the damage of the somersault. Has to be careful of damage off the back, but doesn't need it as the swarm from Dardez is good. 3 members of Trifecta are dead now. Ducky and Weekend, the only 2 alive, and Weekend's on an adventure towards a speed buff that's not up, unfortunately, but he's not really got many other options of safe return back to safety here. Renegades, meanwhile, good fight from them.
I don't think Renegades are going to waste their time chasing this Awilix around. If anything, Weekend should be careful of the Renegades looking to cut him off on the escape. Their buffs are respawning pretty soon here, but Weekend might just look to try and steal away the Zony Fury.
They've not seen him on the ward yet. They will now. Weekend's been spotted by a ward just around the back. Oni Fury drops down before Weekend even gets a sniff of looking at it for a cheeky steal there. So Renegades extend their lead a little bit more. Over 5,000 gold, give or take now. And we'll see what they can do with that as Ducky's pressured the right a little bit.
I think it's just becoming more and more evident, though, that
The composition tackle, that's why I'm out with Trifecta here. Like, it's very telegraphed with what happened there. Lasbra ults, and as soon as he does, Renegades know we're fighting. Trifecta know they're fighting, but Renegades are more prepared because they get a little bit of a tell. It's not like a Fear No Evil, you know, that Jormungandr ult. It's not the same way.
well, there's that, and I just think that the target focus from Renegades is better. I feel like Renegades are just doing a significantly better job at responding to the aggression from Trifecta because Trifecta has had a tendency to kind of split apart too much. Even that last engagement, I feel like Weekend doesn't want to ult the knocked up King Arthur, and for good reason. It's a full health knocked up King Arthur, so that's not a priority target. Then after that, it's iRaffer who gets knocked up. I'm not sure that Weekend even really saw the knockup take place because he did have a map structure in front of him, but when he does eventually find the knockup, it's onto the tank, it's onto Terra, but it's not the same sort of burst follow-up that you would expect because Wowy has to invest for autos, Ducky has to try and connect with vampiric Batz, or the Screech, and I don't know, it just feels too
Fear No
forced.
Evil from Cherryo will hit Lasbra and Eonic, and as Lasbra just tries to get some damage back, he explodes to the Kraken out of Funballer. Eonic soon to follow. Ducky was just trying to keep his tier 1 alive, but with the pressure from Renegades, it develops into a pressure on the tier 2 in mid as well, and Renegades are barreling down looking for a Phoenix at 20 minutes in.
No reason to slow down the gas pedal anytime soon. Weekend actually going to get stunned and controlled. Forced away from this mid-Phoenix range. Ducky gonna come around the backside, looking to target out Funballer, and Wowie's up into that Astral Barrage, but there's still not enough damage until Cherryo gets taken out with that second shot.
Nice pulling from Weekend, but as soon as he pulls him, Dardez stabs him in the face with a stinger. Weekend out of the game. Funballer takes down Ducky. Wowie's gonna turn around, and the Phoenix is gonna fall in the mid lane. Lasbra and Eonic are back, but they're not gonna stop the damage that has been done here. Those were the 2 that got picked on the engagement tackle at the start of it, and as soon as that happened, Renegades just walked it down mid.
Dardez is so good.
I was going to ask you about
I know
Dardez's
that it was a
performance
setup
today.
stinger, but Dardez, I mean, we have not really talked about him, and
We're not
he
had
hasn't
to.
really given us a reason to, other than, you know, he's been doing a great job, and I love his patience, but that that stinger placement and the timing is what really gets me, because there's nothing worse than being in a Awilix and you're trying to get your feather step off, but you can't.
Because you're stuck.
And it was just the burst, the crusher into the rune forged. I really love the way that Dardez optimized his build here, and I just feel like Renegades are getting so much more bang for their buck out of what they drafted in comparison to Trifecta. This Jormungandr Awilix always looks good on paper, but doesn't necessarily translate too well when there's only one member who actually has any sort of guaranteed setup on themselves. It's really only Cherryo with the jump. Everybody else, it has to be Trifecta forcing it.
We've been waiting a while to see the Renegades in action, and this is their first week's performance so far. Got another game tomorrow as well, as we'll see how that goes on. This was an interesting test with the Renegades in a weird way, because Trifecta struggling a little bit in the league, expected to be nearer the bottom end of how things are going so far this season. Renegades haven't been clean though, Taco. I think there's still, you can clearly tell there's rust there that needs to be shaken off.
I'm also curious how much of it is rust and how much of it is Renegades kind of playing down to where Trifecta are at.
That is something that happens in SMITE that a lot of people don't realize, that you do play to the level of your opposition. Sometimes that does bring you down a little bit in what you're doing.
And I definitely think that has somewhat impacted Renegades, but not like to an extreme amount to where they're doing something horribly wrong, or to say that Trifecta are playing completely awful or anything like that. I just don't think that Trifecta have really given themselves much of a helping hand with some of their composition choices.
Well, now the right-hand Phoenix under threat. Cherryo keeping Ducky busy in the mid lane where possible by pushing in these minions. Renegades just trying to use the minion waves to get a bit of chip damage time and time again onto this middle Phoenix. Dardez is the damage dealer for the Phoenix, remember, not Funballer here, who's on that Poseidon.
Beads on that Muzen Cobb as well. Don't think that Dardez meant to fat finger that one. But it's been called out for sure from Trifecta, and Lasbra's got an opportunity here.
Nika's got one too. He'll blink to the back line and force Wowy to ult. Nice ultimate out of Lasbra though, but Funballer has already removed Weaken from the game. Cherryo to the back line now, gets the beads and naked out of Wowy. Wowy rolls away from danger, avoids the monkey toss, but can't avoid the Kraken to the mush. 2 kills for Funballer as Renegades pile on in, looking for more. Lasbra's getting low, and the honey and bees will be enough to set Cherryo up for another kill. Eonic back to the fountain range. Phoenix ignored. A little bit over aggressive from Renegades. Calm it down, boys.
Alrighty then. Renegades, there's still a Phoenix behind you guys, and Eonic and Ducky have a fountain right behind them too. So Renegades with Nika having freshly teleported in. That will be a claimed right side Phoenix in no time at all, and only Ducky and Eonic left to defend. I think this might just be Renegades set to take.
It looks like Renegades are trying to boost up their scores a little bit more on the tail end of this one, just making sure they close out the 3-0 nicely. Trifecta defeated Renegades on the board, and it's a positive on the board.
And that ending, at least, was very clean from Renegades, but as a whole, I think
Funballer's
that...
got a smile. He's not had that since
what it feels like to win.
2017. Oh, I'm looking forward to the interview. I'll tell you that. I wonder if it will be him that gets interviewed at the tail end of this.
He's already won.
They all
2
have.
more games.
They made it to the Pro League and they won a game. That's the start. Again, though, Trifecta look a little bit downtrodden, as you'd expect with how that went for them. They came in with a game plan, Taco. It just wasn't successful is how I'm looking at this.
I almost want to offer to pay Trifecta to just start banning King Arthur in their drafting phase. I, honest to God, believe that will make things significantly easier for them in terms of just drafting phase in general.
Is that because you have Ducky on a different character? Is that what we're looking at here? When Ducky's not forced to play certain picks to deal with Arthur in the lane?
Yes,
right.
I think that they're limiting themselves by having to constantly make their solo laner self-adjust for a pick that is still going to be relevant whether they're behind or not inside of the team fighting situations. I never once saw Trifecta able to kill Nika inside of an actual team fight engagement. I'm not talking the laning phase where Weaken goes in ganks and they find a pick in a 1v2 scenario. I'm talking a raw 5v5. Not once did I see that King Arthur go down.
Well, one of them had to lose, Funballer or Ducky. It was Ducky today, but he's going to get the hugs towards the tail end of that. 3-0 to Renegades. Who would have thunk it coming in today? It would have been that quick and easy for the most part for them. The first game took a little bit longer, but, first game of the season, you don't know the teams, it takes a while. The other two were very quick.
Renegades gave a lot of respect, I think, to Trifecta, still understanding that this is a team that can definitely punish if they went too far.
One set down, one to go. Let's go to the desk to break down that Renegades match.
Thank you, Hindu and Taco. Renegades start off, better late than never. They win their first set here in the SPL in Season 6. And man, Tully, games 2 and 3, just they were a breeze. They looked so easy.
Especially with how long game number 1 was.
Yeah.
Well over 40 minutes, going into like barely 25 minutes in game number 3. Same for game number 2. A lot of it came down to target selection. I think game 3, too much focus fire of the tanks. Nika on the King Arthur yet again was just the focus point out of Trifecta, which made no sense. That Pyromancer fight that I was looking at after that one, it was a 2-for-0, clean FG after the fact. That's where Renegade started to get momentum.
Yeah, I mean, the fight where it's still kind of close in mid lane, and Weekend ends up pulling iRaffer in, and all this damage is going on to iRaffer or Nika, and an AMC gets the free cast. Wowy gets soloed with Relics up against Poseidon ADC. This kill is right after the fact that really Trifecta should have had first blood for themselves. Instead, Cherryo gets it instead of the kill on the Dardez. This is the fight I was talking about earlier where Funballer gets to walk in and deal a bunch of damage, and all the focus on the iRaffer, who you can see is low, but that's still the tank. I mean, Trifecta just had a really rough time team fighting here today as well. It wasn't just the fact that that fight wasn't going well. It wasn't just target selection. The damage just wasn't there either from this weird composition. I mean, Eonic was top damage 20 minutes in, and he's playing Ganesha.
Yeah, that's a problem. That is definitely a problem on your support player. You don't want to have him even in the top 3 category of your player damage chart. Somebody definitely slacking. I think this is the post-reaction when Funballer got that solo kill. I think he was pleasantly surprised. After that first kill for Funballer, he went off on a rampage, and that was 14 minutes when he got that very first kill.
7-0 for Funballer. He had a 5-0 game on game 1 as well, so good debut for him and the rest of Renegades. On the other side, though, Trifecta, I mean, is it just me or do they seem like they're regressing a little bit? I mean, the improvement that we saw, you know, they look good against Space Station. We're like, okay, it's starting to get the ball rolling. Today was really rough for them, I think.
Their strength before this set was their early game. I didn't see that strength at all come out in any 3 games. They were on the defensive side in all 3 of them. They had some moments in game number 1 when they were making some plays, but effectively they were down 10,000 plus gold. It was a very large uphill to climb for them. But like you mentioned, outside of the Space Station set, against everyone else, SK, Pittsburgh Knights, like they just keep struggling and struggling. Their only 2 games that they won was against the crippled Space Station roster.
And don't forget, I mean, Ducky's been continuously playing against King Arthur. You heard Taco mention it there. You may think that you can beat it, but the stats say you can't. I mean, for Trifecta in particular, whether it's the King Arthur pick or the fact that there's other things going on, it's tough to say. But all we know is that Renegades get off to a great start here with their first set of the season. In fact, we've got some Renegades players standing by with our post-game interview.
We do. Welcome on Renegades, Funballer and iRaffer. Congratulations on the victory, first of all, today. Funballer, big question for you. How does it feel to actually smile? Because it feels like I've not had a chance to see you do that for like a year now.
Was this the kind of set victory that you guys were expecting to accomplish here, though?
I mean,
I guess we were expecting to win, just because I guess we disrespected them.
Not a 3-0.
I was thinking of 3-0 myself, but
You're
it was
trolling
mainly
them.
because of lack of our practice. We were kind of concerned about how we'd do, but we scrimmed. As soon as we came in Atlanta as a team, had about 3 to 4 days of scrims, and we just meshed really fast. I think the last day was the roughest, but
Me and Dardez trolling.
him and Dardez were tilted, and then I was tilted, and we're like, yeah, we'll lose tomorrow. But
Moving past the Trifecta game, though, like just reflect on your own performances overall. Was there anything that identified to you guys that there's definitely work that needs to be done still in the games? Like, was there anything that really came out of this set?
yeah, sorry, I'll let you go.
There's definitely work to be done. I mean, no team is perfect. I feel like our communication is probably one of the strongest in the, just in the scene right now. But I think individual play, I could probably get a lot better. I could probably, help my team out. Probably the same for Dardez, probably the same for everyone.
And just off of this one set alone, and comparing the fact that, Trifecta is the first taste of Season 6 SPL you guys have had, what are you expecting out of the other teams now that you're soon to face?
I think we can win. I think we will come on top. We will drop a couple of matches. It's like imperfect at the minute, but our main goal is just to get better and try and get those big wins against Dig. Like we don't want them to go undefeated. No way.
What's the aim? What's the goal for this season for this split for you guys?
This split,
What's the main
honestly,
goal?
Just beat Dig.
beat Dig.
Is that all that matters? Just killing Dig?
I got to farm Nate. My boy's going to farm him now.
I mean, I already farmed Ducky, so
He's out for blood.
yeah.
Well, congratulations on the victory today. Good luck tomorrow as you face off against SK. We'll see you then.
Thank you.